Tell me your name.
Stephen Locklear.
And when were you born?
July the 20th, 1948.
And who were your parents?
John Locklear and Emily Locklear.
And who were their parents?
John's parents were Nancy and Cleveland.
Okay.
And Emily's parents were Rosie and Patrick.
Okay. And when were John and Emily married?
Not exactly sure.
Not exactly sure about that.
Can't tell you.
But John was Emily's second husband.
Yeah,
though.
that's correct.
Who was her first? Who was
Her first husband was Edward Archie Locklear.
Okay. Now, do you know when they were married, or when he died, or any of that history?
He died in 1931.
Okay. And then how long between? You know, how much time between him and John?
I think 2 years, Mark.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I think around 2 years. That seemed like that's what Aworth's always said.
Now he had, so there was the first set of kids there then.
Right.
Then who were those kids?
Well, Leontine and Aworth and Ada.
Okay. And then the second set of kids, who were those?
Oh Lord, that's a whole crowd of them. About 8.
About 8. Okay.
Merle and Christine and John Pat and Emily and Charlie, Colonel Reeves, myself, and Deb.
Did you ever hear about? Was that a hard time for Emily? I mean, lots of times a woman depends on a man, especially way back then. But did she keep the farm going during that time, or?
I think they both were hard workers. I never experienced really needing anything like food or clothes or warmth in the home. So I think because they worked hard and during the times, I think they done pretty good.
Okay. And so tell me about where did you go to church?
Always went to Preston.
Okay. And that's Preston Gospel
Chapel.
Right here on Preston Road. And tell me about what it was like going to church there. Just what were your
Back
impressions?
in the 50s, we had a 4th of July celebration. And different speakers would come in, would spend all day there. There'd be no work. And we'd just enjoy and fellowship one with another. And
I guess eat, they'd have food, and
So those were some of my good memories, other than the hard work.
Right.
A lot of, we kind of created our own fun.
Yeah.
Going to the Lumbee River, but other than that, hey, I thought we done good.
Yeah. How many times a week did you go to church? What was a normal week like?
Well, we went twice on Sundays and then on Friday nights.
Friday. So yeah, back then, you know, I've always known the Bible study to be on Thursday night, so it was on Friday night.
Back then it was Friday. And
Tell me about tell me about a hog. What was a hog killing like?
A hog killing was a cold day in December. We got up around 4:30, 5 o'clock. A fire would get started, and my uncles would come over, and Daddy'd go out, shoot about 10 hogs, drag them up with the tractor. There'd be a hot vat fixed up with hot water, and daybreak would start putting the hogs in and cleaning their hair off, and from there it was just cleaning them up, cutting them up, and doing all that work. It was probably about a 10 hours, you know, in order to kill 10 hogs.
It was a full 4 days work.
4 days work.
And how many folks were there around? There was.
Oh God, 25 to 30.
Yeah, everybody doing.
Yeah.
And what were some of the jobs you did maybe as a young boy, and then did that change maybe as you got older?
Not really, because we stopped. But mine was just pulling the hair off, helping my uncles cut the intestines and that kind of stuff out. Keeping the fire going, that was the easy thing for me because I was young at the time, so I didn't really have no assigned jobs. I just kind of done whatever was asked to do.
Yeah. Now, was all that meat y'all's, or would you share it with people?
We would share it. The majority of it was ours because my other uncles and aunts, they had hogs too.
Yeah.
So when we'd kill, it was more or less to share some of the freshness. Other than that, everybody had their hogs. They
Now,
got the sure hold.
now, would you go help them sometime when they
Yeah.
had a hog killing? You go help
Oh yeah,
them
that was the norm.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And how about beef? Now, were there any beef? Did y'all raise any beef cattle or
We
cows?
always
or?
had cows. Daddy
Yeah.
always raised cows. We always had our milk.
Yeah.
We made our own butter, and there'd be one of the bulls Daddy killed during the year. So we had our beef and our pork.
Now, would y'all slaughter the beef here? Did y'all have a slaughterhouse?
No,
Or?
there was a slaughterhouse. Well, later on it was Prospect, but before that, I'm not sure if it was Fairmont or somewhere. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. Tell me about farming in general. What all crops you farmed and what that was like.
Well, we farmed them all: cotton, tobacco, and corn. Those were our main crops.
Yeah.
Daddy had a D15 tractor that carried 2 rows. I was just old enough to do most of the plowing because my older brothers had gotten older in school and left, so
Right.
I had to do a lot of the plowing. But that's pretty much what we did.
Yeah.
And grew.
Did you ever miss school or anything for farming or?
A little bit.
Yeah.
We never, Mom and them put a value on education, so we didn't miss too much.
Yeah.
Or I didn't. Now my older brothers might have, but
Yeah.
I don't really miss it enough that the school was concerned about it.
Now, where were you at in the line as far as the kids being born? So you were one of the later kids.
I was one of the later ones. Out of the 8, I was number 7.
Okay, and then who was after you?
Deb was
Deb.
after me.
So there was a
Everybody
point.
else before me.
Yeah, there was a point where y'all were. But it was just you and Deb left in the house. It was just y'all 4, John,
Pretty
Emily,
much,
you
yeah.
and Deb. Yeah.
Yeah, once.
And that was very different, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know what it was like growing up with Lee and Teen.
Yeah.
And Ada.
I mean, because at one point in this house that's in the background here, there were how many? There would have been 10 people at least in there, if not more.
But they were all married and gone by the time I got up. Aworth always lived with us. Colonel Rees and his first wife lived with us for a while, maybe 2 years or whatever. But other than that, it was just me and Daddy, Mom and Deb, Mayworth.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Timmy come along, so took care of him for a while.
Right. Now you mentioned people putting a value on education. Tell me about the transition from finishing up high school, your decision to go to college, and just maybe what that was like.
Well, I finished in '66, so the Vietnam War was probably at its height. And Mom and Daddy didn't want me to hang around here and be drafted.
Okay.
So I went to an electronics school in Miami for a year and a half. Come back in '69 and they still drafted me.
Yeah.
So I wound up going into the Air Force, headed to the Philippines for a year and a half. Still went to Vietnam, but I was never in any situation where it were a lot of hostile stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And then when did you end up? Tell me about going to UNCP or.
Oh, okay. I got out in '72. Mama died in '72. So as soon as I got started,
Okay.
I was in summer school when she died in June the 10th.
Yeah.
So I just kind of made up my mind. I said, well, if she's not around to see whether I graduate or not, I'm gonna go ahead and do it for her. And I'm not doing it for myself.
Right.
So I went on there and I finished in 3 years. And then I decided to get a teaching degree and went back for 6 months.
Oh yeah.
GI Bill paid for me to go to college. So.
What was Pembroke State like then, from a diversity standpoint? I guess it was mostly Indian folks, or was there a good mix of white, black folks?
There was still a good mix.
Yeah.
There was still not maybe as many African Americans then as they are today.
Right.
But there was a good mix of whites or Anglo-Saxons.
Right. And then any foreign exchange?
Yeah, there were foreign. There were a few.
That was probably different for you. I mean, being exposed. Although you had been off to school in other places.
It wasn't a big deal for me. I just fit right in.
And I was talking to Daddy about going, and he was saying in the early '60s, and then there wasn't as many. There weren't as many folks that weren't Indian folks then. So
no, they weren't that many. But it had grew in 1972.
Yeah.
And then that's when Old Sable, Maine, some historical things happened back then. The name changed a little later on. But that was probably the beginning of the growth that we see today.
Right.
From UNCP.
Yeah. Now you're on. Tell me about the property we're on now. This is the old home place, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, this is the original. Mama and Daddy bought this from her father, and I think there were 7.5 acres in here.
Yeah.
Built the house, and from there it's just been handed down.
You know when this house was built? I guess
48.
48. Now is this the original? Because now Charlie, at the place that he's at, y'all lived there for a period of time?
Well, I never did live there. I was
You
the
did.
first one. I was the first born here. Me and Deb was born here. The rest of the family was born over there where Charlie's at.
So the one at Charlie's place, is that older than this
Yeah.
one? Okay, so that's the original one.
I don't know how old that one is, but this one's 68 years old now.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's been, remodeled and this, but other than that, it's
Yeah. Tell me about. I'm curious about muscadine grapes. Maybe eating muscadine grapes growing up. Any kind of wine making that was going on. Tell me what memories you have of that.
Mama was more into the winemaking than Daddy. Daddy didn't weren't into that. She made it more or less for the church. But we've always had grapes here.
Yeah.
The original grapevine is right over there. I'm probably transplanted many from it. But we had grape jelly, grape hulls, and plenty to eat. So we've always had that. And
you ever hear any history about where she learned? Did she learn it from her folks or her daddy? Or
I don't think so. What my understanding is, they needed somebody to make the wine. Well, Emily said, "Hey, we got the grapes, John. Let's try."
You mean the church did?
The church.
Yeah.
We ought to have wine.
Yeah.
So Mama said, "Well, hey, I'll look into that."
Yeah.
Now I don't know if she made enough to last for the whole year, but
Yeah.
it appears she did.
Yeah.
So that's where that came from.
You know, a lot of churches just use grape juice. I'm wondering how Preston decided, or I don't know if it was passed down that you
well, I
use
think
wine
it's just more or less tradition and stuff. Because probably from some biblical thought.
Yeah, I mean that's
Bible.
what they use. Yeah,
so
the Last Supper.
Said,
That's what they use.
We're going to continue to do it, and not be worried about it.
Now, do you know at what point y'all use Concord grape now, or whatever the grape juice, or whatever the wine, the Concord wine.
We still use the wine.
But I'm wondering at what point y'all stopped using great grandma's wine and started just using that.
I'm going to say right after Mama died.
Okay, because she was the one that was
72,
making it.
so probably 73, 74 they started buying.
Yeah.
Manischewitz, I believe that's what it is.
Yeah.
But I'd say, because I don't believe anybody ever made any more wine. They did. I don't know whether, and that's their work involved in that.
Yeah.
They didn't.
Sure.
Probably none of them wanted to do it. Didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Because I asked Daddy, and he said, your mother did it. I don't know how to do it. So I said, so I just got to experiment.
Yeah. Now, do you know were these grapes wild, or did she get their origin where she?
This is not wild. I don't know where they got it. They could have bought it at a hardware store years ago, or whatever. But I don't. No, that's not a wild grape.
Yeah. Okay.
That's one of the oldest wine-making grapes. It's real sweet.
Yeah. Right.
I can't think of the name. Don't come back.
Carlos or I know Charlie over here at Locklear Winery. They use Carlos, and then Noble is the other.
Charlie can probably bring back the name.
Yeah.
But if I hear it, I can't think of the name right now.
What other memories just growing up here? I mean, generally you said it sounds like you felt like you were doing
we had
okay,
a good time. Daddy, bicycles. Every Christmas somebody'd get a bicycle, and then one from the previous year. So we always had a bicycle to ride around here. Like I said, we created our own fun. We had a swing to swing in. We'd go to the river for in the summer. This area was the pack house. That's where we spent a lot of time in the late summer, and working with tobacco. But other than that, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Daddy, I remember him saying that everybody else, as far as being poor goes, everybody else was poor too. So you didn't really know any difference about.
I didn't know. That's why I said I've never been hungry in my life.
Yeah.
Never needed clothes I didn't have, because it would work and save our money to buy You would have a Sunday pair of shoes and a pair to go to school.
Right.
And other than that, Mama'd buy blue jean Western, them tough jeans.
Right.
So you'd last all year.
Yeah.
You know, playing in the dirt, you didn't knock holes in them pretty easy.
Right. Now, did y'all walk to school from here, or was there a bus?
No,
Did y'all have a bus?
Never walked a day.
Y'all were close enough. I talked to Mama that grew up just on the other side of off Prospect Road. Now she said she lived too close. If you lived within a mile or two of school,
I'm always rode the bus.
You always rode the bus there.
Bus, and I drove a bus when I was a senior in high school.
Oh yeah. Now, when you were going to college, I guess you probably had a car by then. You drove back and forth. How'd you get back and forth?
Well, Daddy had an automobile.
Yeah.
I got one later on. But probably the first 2 years, 3, no, I used Daddy's.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to share? You think it's worth sharing? That's sort of generally what I wanted to do, is just have a conversation with folks. And
by being the youngest, I always was appreciative that the older children would come by, the girls in particular. You know, we were only in John Pat, and then when they'd come home, it was they didn't come to see me, but to come to see Mama and Daddy. This was home to them.
Yeah.
So they'd always come home, and that would give me a chance to see them again and all. You know, 'cause they'd bring back a lot of memories and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's well, even for me living in Asheville and being not, you know, this is still home. When I say if I'm going to Robinson County over the weekend, I say, well, I'm going home this weekend. So,
yeah.
And that's, I'm sure a lot of folks from Robinson County sort of feel that way about it. So.
We do.
All right. I appreciate it.
Okay, there.